like so, I finally got Dan to come down and bring the GCDual kits that we have been pre-ordering for the last month or two.
Yeah.
So I haven't. This is my first video that I've actually done about, well, anything GameCube really, but about the GCDual. The GCDual is Dan citrus3000psi's version of the GCvideo open source hardware project.
Correct. Does HDMI and analog output.
So that's where the Dual comes from.
Yep.
And basically, your version is just easier to install than, say, a Pluto board. Because you have the QSB.
Correct. Also, mine's the only dual output board available.
Okay. Now, so you have some...
There's no other... Well, I take it back. I have a GC Max, which is a...
I've never heard of that one.
It's an external plug-and-play device, and it is insanely hard to build.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, is that the one where you got to push the pins into the connector?
Mm-hmm. That's not the hard part to build. It's all 0402 components.
Oh. So it doesn't even come pre-assembled?
No, it's open source.
Oh, it's an open source one?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, we've had his version for pre-order on my site for a couple months now. And I tweeted about it, but I haven't done a video yet. So I was like, yeah, come down and we'll shoot a little video and talk about it a little bit, because I think that's how more people will find out about it and want to do it. So it's only for the DOL-101.
Correct.
Which has the digital port on the back.
Yes.
Okay. So it has the QSB is like a quick solder board.
Mm-hmm.
Now you solder that down first, and then the main board is just an easy row of solder.
Correct. It all sits below the motherboard, except for the HDMI connector, which goes right above the digital port. So.
And that was just a room of like a physical limitation of where the HDMI port could go.
Actually, I think there's like this little notch in the back of the GameCube backplate, and I actually think that so I don't know why that notch is there, except for it's where the DVD flex cable would lay. The thing is, it doesn't lay there. Like with the laser all the way back, the flex cable doesn't lay on that, unless it was a full size DVD drive where the laser could go. I think Nintendo actually planned on a full size drive at some point, and then niched it to the mini disc to try and ditch piracy or whatever. So I think that just kind of stayed in there full on molds, so to speak, and they never changed it.
Right, and so you're just using that shelf for the HDMI port.
Correct.
Just for convenience.
Yeah, it sits in real nice and easy. It doesn't move around.
So that's basically the reason for the divorced HDMI connector.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that way you don't have to, everything is shelled in on the connector. So to be able to get HDMI out through the board, you'd be really hacking up the shell. This just makes it real clean install, real simple.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I was curious about that because, I'm just so used to the Ultra HDMI and high def NES, which has the connector right on the main board.
Yeah, you have to really hack up the shell to get there, and this just makes it easy to install. So,
this is a 480p only.
Correct.
Situation.
Well, it'll do 240p too. I mean,
okay.
It does.
But maximum 480p.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
It'll line double 240p or 480i.
And Bob. At this point, is there really, other than personal preference of an internal mod kit, is there any advantages over like your Eons and such?
Well, this is the analog. So
you have dual output.
So you have component output and RGB output. So if you have...
And we have the adapter.
Correct, for a Wii
connector. I guess I'll just add in some close-ups. So yeah, you have the dual output.
Mm-hmm.
So we have HDMI and...
Yeah, so it works with a normal...
RGB or with the...
Yeah, so you can use a SCART cable. It's normal SNES SCART cable for C-Sync.
I'm not worried about any of the missing components and cables and stuff like that.
It doesn't.
It has to be a Super Nintendo normal SCART cable.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't have extra components on here is what I'm saying.
No, yeah.
Like the NES RGB has the extra capacitors in there, shouldn't be in there.
Correct. You don't need anything, just, dumb cable. But there is jumpers so where you can set up, so let's say you have a, on the main board you can choose if you want attenuated sync or non-attenuated sync. You can dump out, TTL voltage, or you can solder in jumper and it'll attenuate it down to proper sync levels, depending if your cable has a resistor already.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So kind of you can choose where the sync goes. You can make the sync output on the composite video if you want to, or C-Sync. You have, you can do...
Okay, I remember seeing, all of the installation instructions are posted on my site already as well, and I remember seeing all the jumpers for different variations.
Yeah.
So we might go through that in more detail, because I'm not sure just like your everyday dude is going to know what we're talking about when we talk about like TTL versus, just using...
It really depends. Yeah, you've got to know what existing cable you have, or just... If you don't know what you have, just I recommend a cable and I say do it like this. That's what I recommend.
Yeah.
Some people have composite cable, like a composite C-Sync cable. I recommend not using those because you got to remove composite from the GameCube to make that work.
Okay.
So just get a new cable, use C-Sync and use, because it has its own dedicated C-Sync spot. So just use that.
Yeah.
Someone came to me though with this idea that it was a super genius idea, because that was the thing. It was at the time it was custom component cables, and someone was like, "Hey, why don't you make a component adapter?" I was like, "You know what? That is."
Is there anything inside of that?
No, it's straight.
Is it?
Passive.
It's just a pinout adapter basically.
Yeah.
That's cool.
There's a mode setting actually on the GCDual, which is it'll force if a pin is pulled low. It'll force component output. So on the OSD settings, you can choose RGB component or sync on green, but we'll just ignore sync on green. So if you plug this component in, you can short the pin with this. So there's a little jumper in here to where you can short. You can choose what pin you want to short, or choose none. So you could, like, for example, put the mode pin on chroma. If you're not going to use S-Video anymore, if you remove chroma, you can wire the mode pin to chroma. And here you can short a jumper on chroma, so when you plug that in, it automatically switches to component.
Oh, I see.
So you don't have to go into the
OSD. So you set it up in OSD first?
You choose, just the mode automatically switches to component when the mode is low, so there's no setting to choose. So
I mean beforehand, like, when you want to choose what pin to pull low?
That would be on the jumper settings on the
USB. On the jumpers, okay.
Yeah, so you choose where the mode pin wires to, or it wires to nothing. That's probably 99% of people don't use the mode.
Sure.
Because you can switch it in the OSD if you want to.
I see. So it's an either-or situation.
It's a convenience factor. If you're plugging in cables a lot, RGB or component, you just want it to automatically switch and not have to mess with the OSD.
I see.
You can do that.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So it's just kind of a convenience factor.
I like that.
But most people don't. I don't really try and push that for people to do that, because to wire the mode in, you have to lose composite video, chroma, or luma.
Right.
One or the other, like one of those three.
Yeah.
So some people will actually wire it to composite. That's kind of the standard.
So really, it's just for people that are using RGB or component and switching a lot.
Correct.
Otherwise, just
don't worry.
Change it in OSD and
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
So, I actually have a jig for these to cut out the holes.
This is the 3D printed part.
It allows you to drill the holes. You could set it in that space, and it lines it up so you don't overshoot the drill holes. You still have to file it or use a razor blade, but at least gives you those 3 or 4 holes that are right in a row.
Which is how I've always cut an HDMI hole.
Yeah.
Which I just draw out the hole and then put the holes in it. This
is HDMI mini though, so you can't overshoot it too much. So the 3D part is actually on Shapeways. It's free. You can. I have one made out of metal, so it lasts for multiple runs. But
how much that would cost?
Like $17.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe we should get some of those done. Because I mean, like if we have a modder that wants to do a bunch of these, that would be something that they would want.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so this firmware makes very little difference.
Yeah.
But it could be, in the future, it could be a firmware that might do something. Or do you think this thing is just like almost completely mature?
I don't know. Unseen has the 2.5, which he's doing. This actually has some different firmware than the Chroma fix. This is kind of, I don't want to say my custom firmware, but it's changes that, there's a few changes. It has a direct component mode. So when you use the GBI interface, the new versions will output like a weird 348p resolution, which is not an HDMI spec.
Yeah, I seen you posted that.
So this won't, the normal like Eon devices won't play that. So this has a direct component mode, which will just output the raw signal, and if you have a TV that accepts that signal, it'll work.
Which is the multi-format thing?
Correct. Well, I mean, my PVM has struggles with it, but there's like a data path capture card that works with it. The OFCC does work with it. I can line double that, and it'll output it. So it's kind of it's just more of like a I think there's also like a 960i resolution that Extrems uses that will work with that direct component output.
Off of the Game Boy player?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
He's using custom resolutions. When Unseen did it, he just said like, I'm gonna make Game Boy or GameCube games work. That's my goal.
Yeah.
And so that's what he did. So I don't know if 2.5, when that releases, if he's gonna look at that or what that means.
So there still could be some updates.
There will be another update, but Unseen has said that he is busy and has no ETA. So it could be 2 years from now.
Right.
Could be 6 months. Could be a month. Or he may never finish it.
Okay.
I could see the next GameCube version being something like different hardware, like a true HDMI transmitter. That probably is really where this product should
Evolve
mature next to. Yeah, a different.
That's what was going to be my next question. Is when are we going to
a different FPGA that can do a line doubling and have a true 960p output, something like that.
So the other thing I was like kind of asking about was, would we ever see a version of this that we can install into the DOL-101? Because that is the only thing that's not easily attainable with an external kit.
So the 101, I just don't know if it's worth it, because you have to do a wired install.
Sure.
Which you could do that now with this kit, theoretically. I mean, you could just not use the QSB. You could take the other board, just put some nice double-sided foam tape that's real sticky, push that board in the back, and solder to the pads easily.
Is the footprint still there?
No.
It's not.
So you have to solder to...
So it's much harder solder-wise.
You have to solder to the AVE chip.
Uh-huh.
So,
what about a custom FFC?
Well, there's components all around it. I've looked. So, like, you'd have to... I guess you could possibly remove those components and bring them on the FFC. I'm assuming they're all decoupling caps. Or, voltage references. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'll have a cap to ground or a resistor to ground or pull up or something just to give it a reference voltage. But it's pretty busy in that area.
What about the bottom side? Is it all...
No, those all go straight to the GPU, and it's all like, it's VGA. So there's no
access from the bottom.
Yeah, it's literally like right below the GPU. So it's all hidden on the other side. So it's one of those things where like GameCubes, I don't want to say they're definitely not rare and they're not expensive. So, and you can drop an 001, motherboard into a 101. So if you've got a 101 case you really love, you can swap them pretty easily. Now you do need more than just a motherboard. You need like the bottom heat shield, the back plate. I think maybe even the top shield too. No, maybe not. I don't remember. I swapped one and told guy, oh yeah, all I need is the motherboard, and I ended up needing to go through all my spare parts to make it work. So.
You know what's funny is I've still never done one.
Yeah.
I've never even had a GameCube open yet.
You'll realize that, like, why do they put so many fucking screws in this?
Well, I was started to watch your video on updating the firmware, and I was like, do we really need all that shit in there? I mean, there was like, was it 12 or 10 screws on the bottom heat shield? And they're not even the same size. Because you had to just drop down to the number 1 screwdriver for 4 of the screws.
For the heatsink, there's different sizes. But for all around the case, it is ridiculous. There's like literally a screw every inch around the outside of that case, which is
overkill.
It almost the N64 is like that too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, a ton of screws holding that thing. So I don't know, and just over engineering and then never.
Is there really a lot of heat coming off that heatsink?
No, you can probably run it without a fan.
Huh.
I mean, maybe not an intensive game, but
So is the GCDual adding any major power draw to it?
no.
I don't think so.
There's no the power on the 1.2 rail. It pulls like 200 milliamps, and then I haven't measured the actual 3.3 or from the 5, and it's probably another 200 milliamp or 300 milliamp. It puts out. I've done thermal. I have one of those thermal cameras.
Do you? I was going to ask if you did or not.
Yeah, and it gets up to, I don't know, 45C, 50C, so well within spec, and
not going to damage anything, kind of.
no. Yeah, you almost have to do that selling that, because with being on the bottom side of the GPU and all that heat, and you gotta
make sure.
Yeah. Because I'm not. I mean, some people are crazy and will play for 2 days straight, never turn it off. I'm not that type of person, so I don't have the time to sit there and I can let it idle for 2 days. But is that different from like
actual gameplay?
Yeah.
Probably.
So.
Like I usually burn test mine with just an attract mode on some game that I just have laying around.
Yeah. Not
quite the same as playing it, but it's better than not doing it, I guess, too.
Yeah. You gotta check that.
I would guess it would be a minor difference, honestly.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The idle, if it's at 44, it may get up to 50.
Yeah.
And then you're still well within
right
specs range.
I always try to think of what other products I could pair with, what I'm selling. It was like, for the GameCube, we've got Greg Collins' new fan.
I want to see his prints compared to mine. His looks pretty good. Okay, he did standoffs too. Man, but his print looks so much better than mine.
I couldn't tell you what he's using or anything either.
He's told me. I even asked him for recommendations of what printer to use, but there's also like, I just got my printer like 6 months ago.
So you're still learning.
Yeah, like I don't print enough to even like go through different types of filament, because different filament matters.
Mm-hmm.
I did print one in solid and worked fine. So.
But you're saying it's, other than just replacing a fan that has gone bad or is going bad.
I think this is probably quieter.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess that would be the big upgrade.
Because there's actually 2 models of that fan. One's got a little higher RPM, but one is, I bought the lower speed one. And it is, you can't hear it unless you put your head up to the machine.
Are you talking about the fan that's recommended for this piece?
Yeah, there's two different types for that, like that noise blocker, I think is what it's called. If you Amazon it, there's 2 different models.
Okay.
They both run on 12 volt. One just does a lower, obviously like an internal resistor, something like that. And
okay.
It's just
to lower the RPMs a little bit.
Yeah, just make it a little quieter. They're probably both extremely quiet, but I just was like, this doesn't need, the extra.
So what's what the other one is? This one is a noise blocker.
They're both noise blockers.
This was the ultra quiet.
That's what I got. I got the ultra quiet too.
Okay.
So.
Is that XS1? I didn't even know they had a certain fan recommended for this.
Well,
so did he build it around this fan, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. I wonder actually because you can get a, well, I don't know, was it a Noctu or how do you pronounce that?
Yeah, I've heard of that.
It's the Noctu that they're I think considered the best. But you can get a 40 millimeter by 10 millimeter, which
replaces the original.
Well, no, the original's close to this size. It just has a different footprint.
Oh, really?
And the blades are smaller.
So it's not like a standard footprint or something?
Yeah, the motors are bigger, and the blades are smaller, so I don't think it does
the volume.
Yeah, I think the blades make it sound quite a bit louder. So,
so this piece is pretty easy to replace then, if you're already in here doing GCDual.
It's simple. It's literally 2 screws.
Do you have to take the DVD drive out to get to this?
No.
So it's even simpler. Even if you're not doing the GCDual and you want to replace your fan, I don't know. Do you have to tear into it very far to get to that connector though?
What do you mean?
Like, do you have to take the DVD drive out to get to the connector?
No, the connector's right here. So there's a PCB that sits right here. So there's a power wire that comes up, a PCB that sits here, and then this plugs in, and that fan plugs in right there.
Oh, excellent. Is there any issues with the GameCube power supply? should we be worrying about putting in cat kits? Are they too young?
Well, the power supply is external. You mean like the
Well, there's
transformer?
taps inside of there.
Yeah. The power unit actually doesn't even really have that many electrolyte caps on it.
But the ones that are on there, are we worried about them yet?
I wouldn't.
Don't think so.
Mm-mm. I mean,
Now what about the brick itself? Is it potted, or can we get in there and?
I don't think we can get into it. I think it's sealed.
Potted, or maybe not potted, but the case is.
Because the brick
ultrasonic sealed.
Because the brick outputs 12-volt DC. And then from there I don't know if there's got to be caps on it. There's just
that very bottom little board.
Yeah,
I
that's what I'm
remember
talking
seeing
about.
a couple surface electrodes on that one, right?
There's a bunch of filters on there. Like it's a switching power supply. But there has to be some electrolyte caps.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not many. But I've never heard of anything
Not yet, anyway.
not working
Causing
out. Now,
problems.
actually, you know what? I do have one power board that doesn't work with audio. If I use it, the audio doesn't work on the console. So, which actually makes sense. I guess it probably has its own power for audio. So there's something wrong with that power board. I don't know. I haven't got so many GameCube parts that it's just
Easier to swap it out.
yeah. And that was one of the things is someone sent me back because I did an install for a GameCube, and they sent it to me and they're like, "Hey, audio's not working." And I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I probably checked. Well, audio wasn't working on the analog side. It was working on the digital side.
Okay.
So I was like, well, probably didn't check the analog because why would I? I mean, I didn't, but I'm putting a QSB on it, so maybe it didn't, maybe something shorted or anything. So go send it back, I'll check it out. And I was like, sure as shit, there wasn't any analog audio. And that took me, I don't want to say how long that took me to figure that out. It was the power board, but that was a very weird issue that I think I actually ended up taking the whole thing out and using a spare power board that to test with.
Mm-hmm.
I probably reflowed it and then tested it and it worked. I was like, shit, great. Then I put it back in, tested it, didn't work, and just weird stuff.
I was just trying to think what else we could possibly be selling with the. Because cat kits is just one of those things I always try to push.
Yeah, I'm sure you could. I mean, why? I don't know why not.
Does the GameCube have a power LED?
But what?
A power LED?
Yeah.
Does it?
Yes. A lot of people like purple LEDs look pretty cool in them.
Those are hard to come by, actually.
Are they?
Mm-hmm. At least on Mauser, I'm not sure about. I mean, I'm sure you could go to eBay and buy a purple LED. I gotta look into that.
They use some of the smaller ones. You can put a bigger one in, but it's easier to put one of the
3 or 5 mil.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing I'll look into when I do the install. I've got to get that done. Okay, I'm going to cut this video off there. There was 3 or 4 hours worth of video shot there, and a lot of it wasn't really related to the GCDual kit. But speaking of install, I did do an install, and I have shot the video, so look for that really soon. Hope you enjoyed.